little bit. Okay, welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and we're doing another alien abduction regression with my good friend Dan Ryan. He's a hypnotherapist, and we're going to be working with Michelle Copeland, who has had some ET experiences, and we want to get to what really about how hypnosis works and the process of memory, and are we really accessing something real or is it fabricated?
Yeah, of course. Hypnosis for memory retrieval is a fairly dubious subject. If you just do a Google search for it, you'll find all kinds of information, positive, negative, and otherwise, and some interesting cases, particularly in court proceedings in the UK, where you would have hypnotists providing information or testimony that would come under scrutiny. And for good reason, because oftentimes hypnosis and the way that it retrieves memories, quote unquote, retrieves memories, does not really operate with the way that science presents that memory operates.
Well, forget science. When she is regressed, will she be remembering what happened or will she be imagining it?
Well, that's the part where I completely defer to her, frankly. I'm agnostic on that, and I defer to all the people I work with as the experts on themselves.
Right.
And as the hypnotherapist in this exercise, I'm actually trying to make myself as invisible as possible, because I would like Michelle's content to be as purely hers and undiluted by my influence as possible.
Right.
Knowing full well, again, all hypnotherapists use leading questions, so the input and the guidance I'm providing is creating a context, but at the same time, I want that context to be there to purely express what you have to offer today and what you want to explore and your goals in this experience. So as we said a little bit previously, really the most important thing for me today as a therapist, as a person, is that your experience be comfortable and safe, and that we hopefully find something productive and that connects to the goal that you're looking for. But again, more than anything else, that no trauma, to use a strong word, perhaps the strongest, be re-entered or experienced for any reason whatsoever. Remembering we're in a very comfortable office and a lovely evening here in New York City, and frankly, we're in the safest possible place to do this kind of exploration.
Yes, yes.
So we've done the due diligence to create this safe context, and now we can have fun.
Well, let me ask you, what do you want to accomplish by this regression to your events? You've had 4 ET events that you remember. What do you want out of these?
Well, I would like to get more information about those experiences, like exactly what I agreed to with those different races of beings. I feel like there were 4 different races, 4 different events that I recall, and if they would like to, when I get to that space, to access what happened in the event, to be able, if they would choose to communicate with us now, in this moment, to determine, what it is I agreed to, what's the mission, and where are we at on that mission timeline in relationship to humanity and its evolution and growth. And
do you want to review, just mention the 4 that you experienced you had, and maybe we'll find the best one, whatever pops up, right?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, so the first one, I was awake, and I was driving in Kokomo, Indiana.
How old were you?
I was about 22, I guess. And I was driving to my office, Agape Healing Institute, where I did healing work at the time. And I was driving down the highway. I saw an eagle fly in. It was beautiful. It really captivated my attention. I literally just thought to myself, wonder what it would be like to see out of the eagle's eyes, to see what the eagle sees. And literally I was transported where I was seeing out of the eagle's eyes, and I was seeing, way above the car and the trees and everything. I felt this immense love and connection and oneness with life. And you know how you get that feeling when someone is like staring at you? I had that feeling that someone was staring at me, and so I looked in the rearview mirror.
You're in the eagle's eyes, and you're also driving.
Yes.
So you were in both places.
Yes.
Your consciousness was in both places. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so then when I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw these 2 ET beings that looked like the silver gray, like the Bashar talks about.
Gray with the big eyes and small mouth.
Right. Yeah, and there were 2 of them, and they were just looking at me. And I just said immediately, I was just like, okay, Jesus, do I need to be concerned about this? And,
were you afraid?
No.
But you were a little like,
I didn't
well,
feel
there's
threatened or
ETs in the
anything
back
like
of my
that.
seat,
It was,
yes.
And so I just said, Jesus, do I need to be concerned? And immediately I heard, no, you agreed for them to observe you, and they're here just to observe. And then it was gone. Then I was back to driving the car. It was like as soon as my conscious thought came in, awareness of it, that state left after, you know.
Okay, that was your first, and was there transformation after that? It was like, okay, that was an interesting experience.
Just that was an interesting experience,
Okay.
and also it makes me wonder if more didn't actually transpire, and maybe I was taken and brought back, and that's just all I recall of that actual experience.
Okay,
So,
that's a
you know.
possibility. Okay, then what?
And also, are they part of the Asani, those beings?
Who are they?
Right, those particular grays. I know it's different levels.
Well, do you want to move on to your next?
Yeah, and then the next one was that I can recall is.
Wait, can I just, sorry, were you aware of ET possibilities when you had that first experience? Was that something you thought about, or not really?
Well, no, I was aware because my Aunt Gloria, she's had an ET experience, and was picked up in a ship and taken to see cities of lights, and I know it runs in the family. I did some, ET research, and apparently it does run in the family. So.
Okay, so the second experience was what?
So the second experience was, I was younger. I was still in high school.
You were younger than the second experience?
This was actually, so this would have been, I guess, previous to the one I shared with you in the car.
Oh, you were younger. Okay, so this is really your first experience, the one you're going to tell us.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
So this one, I was in high school, and...
Can I just also say, memory often works that way, doesn't it? Doesn't memory often work that way? You remember something more recent, then you're reminded of something that happened before that?
Sure, yes. It's a sequence. It works sequentially, we'll say, and that one thing connects to another, that connects to another, that connects to another, so memories often chain.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Right, so go ahead. Sorry.
So the second one, or actually the second story I'm telling you, but the first one experience when I was in high school, I was living on Columbus Boulevard in Copeland, Indiana, and I was in a waterbed. I had a waterbed at the time. I just remember being frozen in time, waking up in the middle of the night, and I saw two beings standing on either side of me. They were a different race of beings. They were very tall. They looked like Hercules. They were muscular. They were brown, almost like mud skin type beings. And they had a staff in their hand, a big, huge staff rod. Their heads almost touched the ceiling, literally like touched the ceiling, and the staffs were really large.
Human forms?
They looked part humanoid, but they had this, like the color of mud, kind of like between green and brown-ish. But Hercules, as in they had like physical form, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, muscles and everything, but really tall beings. And they brought me, I felt like they were bringing me back. Is what happened. They phased me in, and I happened to wake up and be conscious of the transition of them bringing me back. And I tried to yell out for my mother. I was startled, and no sound would come out of my mouth. I felt
so you feel like you were remembering the end of an experience.
Yes, I do.
And you don't know what happened before that.
Right.
I see. And you were about, what, 16, 17?
Probably 17, 18, something like that.
Okay, and then 4 years later you had the other experience. Okay, now the third experience?
So this one I was...
Wait, let me just ask, were you shaken up at the end of that initial experience?
Well, yeah, I was just sort of like, I wish I knew what else happened. I know more did happen than just me being brought back. I mean, I want to know, that's a whole different race of beings. They were not gray. I almost, I don't know, there's some... I like the gray hybrid. I don't feel threatened by them for some reason. I think they're part of the Asani. So.
Well, I think what Dan will do, I don't know, but as you go back to a timeline, the event that stands out the most is where we'll probably jump in, right?
Yeah, whether it presents itself to us or you tell me, where you would like to go first and which event you'd like to examine first. We can roll the dice, or we can make a conscious decision.
Well, the first one with the eagle, that one's kind of where
let's say the third and fourth story, though.
And then the next one that's critical is to address is at 4179 North Davis Road. That's probably going to be a trigger to access.
I don't want anyone
there.
to go visiting that place. No, it's okay.
Anyway.
Don't mention the town.
Okay, well, that was
Just
my
the
mom's
state.
address. There's,
What state?
and in Kokomo,
Okay,
Indiana.
Let me hear that street address one more time, just so I can give you the trigger without
What do you mean
offering.
the trigger?
Well, you just said that address would probably be a trigger.
Yeah, 4179.
Why is that
North
a trigger?
Davis Road.
Let's just remember 4179.
Okay.
Oh,
So anyway, I was there, living there with my mom and my stepdad Jerry at the time, and
how old are you?
this was after my divorce. So I was probably, let's see, this was 1995 or 6.
So you're
And-
about 40, 35? Or, I don't actually know how old you are. I'm just getting the
I was born in
date.
70, so.
So you are 70, and what year did that happen?
That was 96, I believe.
So you're 26 years old. Seems like every 4 years, the first one was 17, and then this 22, and then 26. So every 4 years, interesting. So what happened?
So this one, I woke up, I was told there was a gentleman in a uniform, and he was extraterrestrial. I knew he wasn't human, but he was really nice. He didn't speak through his mouth. He telepathically told me that my son missed me and that we needed to go off planet to see my son, and he would bring me back, and that that my son missed me and needed me. So I went with him, and I was on the ship, and I remember.
This was in physical form, dreamlike, altered state. When you say you went on.
Well, I woke up remembering this crystal clear, and it felt like an experience, not a dream.
Okay.
I had a knowing within me that it wasn't a dream. This was actual physical experience that I had.
That you were on a ship with
Yes,
ETs.
yes, that I was on a ship with ETs.
What kind of
So-
ETs were?
I'm not sure. That's
Okay.
I have no idea. They
Okay.
talked to me through telepathically and said that my son missed me and that I needed to go to see my son. That he needed my connection.
Okay.
So they take me. I'm on the ship, and then there was these kittens that there was a glass room that I was looking through, and I was on a ship, and I was looking at these kittens, and they were telling me they needed my love, and that and I knew within me those were not kittens. Those were something else, but they looked like kittens. But
I
had
would
a
say
feeling
that those
that they weren't kittens. So
were probably
they're-
hybrid,
right,
human,
and that's
alien.
what I believe.
And the screen memory is kittens, because if you see these little alien hybrids, it could freak someone out. So they look like animals sometimes.
Right.
Deer. I saw one that was a deer that I think was a hybrid. So kittens are more acceptable because they're good.
Right.
So what would you like to find out from that experience?
Well, what else happened? I
Okay.
mean, were they also checking my DNA or seeing where I was at, or were they inserting an implant? I mean, what's my agreement with them? What's our mission, and how far are we along on that mission, or have I finished what I needed to fulfill with that race of beings?
Did your son end up playing a role in that experience in any way?
I didn't see him in there. Well, so.
Maybe the son they were talking about, though, was actually those kittens that were little ET
Right.
beings.
That were my hybrid
Maybe
children.
that's what they meant. It just came to me as we're talking, because they are hybrid aspects of ourselves, or genetically part of us. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm
that
not,
makes
I'm not
sense. No.
planting things in
No,
your mind.
I understand. That makes sense. That feels, accurate.
All right. Okay. So that happened at 26, and now what's the last one that happened to you?
So the last one is when I was in 1997. I was with Peter, and we were in Egypt.
That's
we
a
were
year later.
cruising
You were
down
20
the Nile.
You were just a year after.
1997.
You said the other one's 96. I think you're
Yeah.
26, and now you're 27.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm with Peter, and we're cruising down the Nile, and
Peter is who?
well, I was. We were together. We were dating. And
Okay,
so,
whatever. You don't have to.
So anyway, we went to Egypt together. It was a really great trip. Anyway, so I'm cruising down the Nile, and I had a lady that would happen to be on the same cruise as myself. She wanted to do an exchange, and so I did some EPT, emotional clearing work that I do with her, and then she did the regression with me, and I told her I had an ET experience and I wanted to get more clarity around it, and that I was having a headache and I thought it was related. So she took me down and took me under, and
it was a regression.
Yes, it was a regression, and what came out of it was I saw myself in the corner of the room looking down at my body, and there was this, my physical body was there, but then I also saw my etheric double, which was floating like above my body, and then there was Jesus and these other beings in white robes, and they were performing a surgery, and they were removing an implant, and they explained what
removing an ET implant?
Yes, removing an ET implant.
Okay.
And what they explained that came through my mouth as the hypnotherapist was asking questions was that because I had raised my frequency to such a degree vibrationally, that the implant and my own vibration was causing a interference, and so it was time to be removed.
Okay.
So
that was the end of that.
Well, then right before she brought me back completely, I started channeling Isis. And some interesting information came out, channeling Isis. So, I mean, we talked about discovering the whole records, that was pivotal to our trip and being there, and information that would come forward to help humanity. And so I just feel like, okay, so let's go back into those experiences and see if any of these ET beings want to actually talk to you, Alan. And let's get more information on how they're collaborating with Earth and, you know, our planet. And
okay, we just have a couple of questions on the chat before we go into the regression.
Wonderful.
Is there a distinction between angels and ETs? I make a distinction. What do you feel about the difference?
Yeah, I do feel like there is a difference.
What do you feel the difference is?
Well, I feel like they're different beings. Like the ET is extraterrestrial being, like, you know, the Greys or whatnot. They're not angels. You know, angels are more light,
yeah, what I make of it is angels are more part of the human realm, in the sense they relate to humans, and ETs don't necessarily relate or even understand who we are as human beings, and angels are accessible within the human, I guess, atmosphere, if you want to call it, psychic atmosphere. But extraterrestrials, they're a whole other ball of wax. That's what I would say. One more thing, whatever became of my hybrid children? Well, actually, if you look at my Bashar interview, he says that part of that hybridization actually gave birth to the Essasanis that Bashar is a part of. I mean, if you want to believe that. But I also think, I don't remember actually seeing them, except one time I was given this little hybrid in my hands. I was woken up in the middle of the night. I felt this like tickling on my leg, and this thing was given to me, and it was like an animal. It was like a little deer with big eyes. It was in a dream state. I can't say I was lucid, but I said, that's weird. I didn't have any emotional connection. How did you feel with your little kittens? Did you have an emotional connection?
I was just, we were petting them and loving on them. And
all right, well, you had more of an emotional connection than I did. All right, so are we ready to start our regression?
Well, let me ask a couple questions before we jump in.
Okay.
You know, now that we've talked about all this, how are we framing our goals today? What would you say the goal of this particular regression is now?
To speak to any of these ET beings. And so talk to Alan, can have a conversation with them.
Well,
beautiful. I think that's it. So to facilitate a dialogue.
Yeah, and to go back into the experience, look at it like a movie, so I'm not revisiting any emotional trauma. So in my psyche, so I'm watching it, but at the same time, then we can ask if we can do any of these beings want to use myself as a vessel to talk to Alan. You know, there's lots of beings I feel in my own soul that are actually working together, that are benevolent ETs that have been here for centuries. And this is a normal phenomena that's been going on. And it's like, I just want to break the barriers of taboo around this subject. It's like up to us to come forward and to share our experiences. And so that's what I'm all about. And so I hope more of you out there that are watching this will sign up and be inclined to write to me, reach out to me, and we'll schedule it with Alan and Daniel, and we will have you here as well. If you're willing to be vulnerable and come forward, then that's what's required right now. If you really are committed to disclosure, it's up to us to do that. So let's do that.
And again, from my seat too, that benevolence that you mentioned is very important. Exactly, truly. And one of the things we haven't asked yet, in the 4 stories that you shared with us, did you find those experiences, at least originally, to be disturbing or traumatic? What were they like?
The only one that was disturbing was the one where I was frozen. I was trying to yell to my mother and I couldn't speak. Yeah. That was a little scary because I couldn't, nothing was coming out and I was kind of frozen.
Yeah.
I also like that you said just before that, we're here to open up, and we're here to open up the mind. And I think hypnosis is one way, but
yes.
What do you suggest? How do we become more lucid in these experiences so we don't need regression? So we do, is it about evolving a kind of perception?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
And the response, it's both simple and complex, because what we're about to do, and in fact, the best way for us to enter into this next phase of this exercise is to kind of completely conclude the intellectual portion of this evening.
Okay.
And in a way, not necessarily forget everything that we just said, but just let it drift off, let it pass and come back to it in a completely non-verbal experience of the chair beneath us. Yes.
Like, so everything that happened to her is on the table, but we might be going someplace else.
Well, yes. The progressive relaxation that happens in your average hypnotic induction, and that we'll do a little bit of at the beginning here, is there to access the physiological memory that's stored all over your body. Not just in the brain, but all over your body. So to reach, a relaxed, natural state of yourself, in which we can allow and ask, if any of those benevolent beings would like to emerge to the surface. Michelle has made herself available, and we can have a conversation.
Right, absolutely. And I want to make a point known here that's important, is that Bashar says and shares with us, which I believe feels right and accurate, is that these beings, that they are literally ourself in a parallel life stream, because everything is happening now. There really isn't any time. We're multidimensional beings, and so basically I take on a human vessel, yet there's these other incarnational streams as these other ET race of beings, and I can access all of that information in my here and now. So that's sort of what we're doing. And if there's something from one of those other life streams as that ET incarnation that is working with me here and now in this time, space, reality, to enhance humanity in our evolution and the flowering of, opening our hearts, embodying more presence, and so be it.
Yeah. What I also got when you were just talking then is a kind of, we're about to enter almost a timeless realm within the regression itself, the Michelle's psyche. And it doesn't happen in the same time flow that this, whatever you call this beta wave frequency. We're about to go somewhere.
Yes.
And we're on the journey. Just another live stream question. What dimensions do these alien encounters take place in? Were you afraid of missing time? And were there physical effects? Actually, if you're talking to me, I covered this in my first regression. You can go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/New Realities. What date was that? It was around February.
I do believe that was, it was actually January.
January.
It was the middle of January.
It was January 31st.
Second session was 31st. And our first session, I think, was mid-January.
I think so. It's funny how memory is.
Isn't it?
But it's on my YouTube channel. And I talk about, I feel they're in a dream-like state. It's the only way I could describe it is dreamlike. You're much more conscious of it. I was not as conscious as you. And I did have a physical mark on the back of my leg when I talked about this first regression. Did you have any physical marks on your body? That you know of?
Actually, there's another encounter that I totally just remembered when you said that.
Okay. Give us that one.
This is
the fifth one.
Most current, I guess. At my location in South Carolina, I was sort of like, I felt the presence of a being looking over me when I was in bed. It was just as I was...
How long ago was that?
I don't know, probably a few months ago. It was before I interviewed you. But it was just prior to that, actually.
Maybe it was one of my people.
Maybe, who knows? But it was a very light, translucent type being and looking over me. And I'm not sure if it was before I was getting up, or I think it was before I was getting up that I.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock New York time. Take it away, Dan. You're on. Let's do your magic.
Just one last thought before we jump in, responding to what you mentioned earlier as well. For what it's worth, these ideas of the multiverse, and even an idea as simple as everything that begins as supernatural or extraterrestrial or outside of our understanding, eventually once we have the apparatus to make a kind of connection or communication, becomes, as you were talking about, finding more acceptance in this culture and in this conversation and everything. It's just a matter of making the supernatural, quote unquote, scientific again, or grounded, or something
natural.
like this. Or natural, yes, thank you, that's a better word.
Supernatural, natural.
Yeah.
Normal phenomena.
And normal phenomena, which I appreciate and love. And again, and I know this very well as a hypnotherapist, our eyes can only see certain levels of light. Our ears can only hear a certain range of audio. There's
Right.
most certainly infinite amounts of phenomena taking place outside of our ability to observe. Which again is what continues to excite me about our sessions, and also what we're about to do, this kind of if not supernatural, metahuman exploration of time and communication and language and what it means to be human or not.
And you have a good sense of that because you've done so many regressions with people.
Yes.
And it must differ from person to person.
It does, yeah. My personal experience, just to say a little bit about that, I have in my training a great deal of work with past life regression, extraterrestrial experiences, animal experiences, just non-human experiences.
Animal experiences.
Yes, animal experiences.
Becoming an animal?
People going into what could be past life experiences as dogs, cats, camels even.
Why not?
Yeah, why not, right? So, it's just kind of this range of experience and exploration that's available in regression therapy, which itself is a niche of hypnotherapy, which I find to be tremendously cool and exciting, and fun, because it, again, how many therapies present a compassionate structure for doing what we're doing today? So I appreciate that about this particular tool set.
I have to also say, Dan is from a long line of hypnotherapists. Your father was a well-known.
True, yes. Hypnosis and past life regression are the family business. My dad was the president of the Association for Past Life Research and Therapies when I was a kid. So
was he friends with Brian Weiss?
He was,
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
He's made that popular, Brian
Yes,
Weiss.
he has, yeah.
It's Many Lives, Many Masters.
Many Lives, Many Masters.
But he was a contemporary of Brian. I mean,
yes, he was.
And he taught you, you learned it from an early age.
My dad was my first teacher and mentor, and there's been many since.
Okay, great. So what is going to happen now?
So now we're going to switch gears. The intellectual portion of whatever it is we're doing has concluded.
Okay.
And I'm going to slightly turn myself to face you.
Okay.
As best I can with what room I have here.
All right.
And Michelle, just make yourself comfortable as you can be.
Okay.
Just going to move this a little bit. Okay, so we have a little more of you on camera. Okay.
All right.
Are you okay with the lights? I know it's
I'm
not.
good. I know we need.
I'm good.
We need y'all to see, so we're okay.
It's not quite. You were saying the natural setting you would do if it was a one-on-one.
Yes. For the record, a one-on-one session with somebody in my office would not look like this with the lights and such. And just to add the cameras, I think we're all probably aware of this, but just to add the cameras completely changes anything.
Right.
But again, for veracity and history, we are here doing what we're doing.
And I think Michelle is pretty grounded in herself, in a sense. So she's not coming from an ego place. I don't think. Are you? No, I don't think you are.
You really have to ask that out.
No, I think some people would be. I'm questioning myself.
And I have a teacher who would say, it would be completely inhuman and unnatural of us not to come from an ego place tonight. It's perfectly okay. It's just a matter of how much or how little.
Yeah, I think she's sincere in wanting to get to whatever happened to her.
Came all the way from South Carolina to New York. That's pretty sincere to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I love that your heart is in your work, that when you connect with people. I really feel that, and I just wanted to voice that. So,
thank you.
Anyway.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Take it away.
Here we go. So let's all make ourselves comfortable.
Okay.
You included, Alan.
I'm trying to. Okay. to see if we get any questions.
All right, so go ahead and close your eyes. And we'll all begin with a deep cleansing breath. And taking another. And taking one more, and this time exhaling twice as long, letting all the air out of the lungs. And just continuing by letting your breathing be easy and natural. And letting your attention rest with your senses. Noticing the sound and tone of my voice. The nonverbal experience of the surface beneath you. The air in the room. The relative quiet throughout the office this evening. And listening to everything as if hearing one sound. And just imagining what it might feel like now if a wave of relaxation were to move over your body. Cascading down from the crown of your head, relaxing the muscles around your eyes, your nose, your cheeks and jaw. Moving down the neck and the shoulders. This relaxation moving through the chest, around the heart and the lungs, the spine down to the core, past the hands and the hips and down both legs, all the way down to the bottoms of the feet. Feeling your body connected and complete, from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes, as the next deep breath rises, and is exhaled twice as long. Noticing any thoughts in mind, any ideas or opinions, thoughts of this exercise earlier today or later today, and just noticing as if for the first time, regardless the thought, its charge, its message, or who it might belong to, that we can watch these thoughts pass as if watching clouds passing in the sky. Not needing these thoughts at the moment, just letting them go. We can have them back later if we want them. Watching them like clouds getting further and further and further away. Becoming present once more just by reconnecting to the non-verbal experience of all the sounds around us. The surface and the chair beneath you. The breath in your lungs. In a moment, I'll count down from 10 to 1, and with each digit, I'd like you to imagine what it might feel like if your body were to relax itself easily and naturally, this feeling already there, just rising up to the surface and expanding. Starting with 10, noticing wherever the most relaxed parts of your body already are. 9, 8. Listening to the spaces between the sounds. 7. 6. Letting your listening go out to find the furthest sound from us, wherever that might be. noticing the closest sound to you, wherever that might be. 3. 2. And listening to all the space in between. 1. And just noticing how your body feels now. Using your imagination. I would like you to imagine for yourself a kind of control room, a mission control, a space that might launch a shuttle or control a process equally momentous. Seeing around you in that space the dials, the buttons, the screens, the monitors. Allowing this space, its shapes and forms and colors, to emerge around you in your awareness there. And just nodding for me when you have this space in mind, so I know. Marvelous. The privacy of your own mind now there. The privacy of your own consciousness. Feeling free to explore your control room. This is your space. And all the dials, the buttons, the controls, and the switches here will summon or recall, dial up or dial down, find for you any information or make any changes necessary. Taking this time, this opportunity to acquaint yourself with your control room. Enjoying it, nothing to do that isn't already happening. Noticing the sounds there, the textures, the countertops, the furniture, the colors. In a few moments, we'll start using some of these controls. But for the time being, simply enjoying that space, making yourself comfortable there. It is yours. So with the next deep breath, imagining another wave of relaxation moving over the body now, bringing you deeper into the chair, deeper into this present moment. As everything we don't need for this exercise is released in the background, in the foreground. Enjoy that sense of control there in the control room. Now in the privacy of your mind there, as you're exploring that space, I would like you to feel free to find or summon whichever experience we're here to examine first this evening. Whether it's what occurred around the age of 26 at 4179, whether it's what occurred in high school on the waterbed, whether around the age of 22 in Copeland, driving to the office, an experience with an eagle, or on the Nile River. Finding there the controls to summon and recall whatever information we'll begin with this evening. Taking your time, enjoying it, and just nodding for me when you have the information available.
just feel like I need to go deeper.
Appreciate it. So with another deep breath. Tell me, do you have a sense of how deep you need to go?
Just count me down so that I'm still very much present in awareness of this experience. So.
And only you could know how deeply you need to be counted down for. Shall I start from 50, 100, 150? Which would you prefer?
100. Sorry.
Beautiful. So with the next deep breath. First of all, before I even utter the first number, giving your own mind permission to escort you to the level you need to be at this evening. Only you could possibly know. 100. Resting with the nonverbal experience, my voice just playing in the background. 99. What are the numbers but sounds anyway? 97. Following your own sense of guidance, whatever level of depth or transcendence you need to be at this evening. 96. 95. Perhaps in your traveling to that level of depth, there are images or feelings, just noticing what emerges and moving through it. 94. Continue to count. And you can feel free to let me know when you've arrived at your own destination. 93. Finding the furthest sound from us now, wherever that might be. 92. 91. 91. Noticing the closest sounds to 90. 89. Hearing all the distance, the city outside, the sounds in the office, the sounds inside. 89. 88. Feeling your awareness deep in the body becoming heavier, the hands and legs becoming heavier. 87. A sense of time and space. Boundaries dissolving. 86. 85. Being guided to whatever it is we need to be. 84. 83. 82. 'Continuing to follow your own self. Non-verbal. Falling vibration. Allowing knowing those we're here to communicate with, to guide you and enlighten you. 79. Saying yes to the invitation. 78. Free to let us know. 75. And those we're here to communicate with, provide the directions. 74. The next deep breath rising up, exhaling twice as long. 72. 71. Noticing the images arise, moving through them. 70. Allowing the question to echo. 30 now. 69. What are we meant to see today? 68. What agreements do we need to know about? 67. And what are we doing in our objectives? 66. The grace of being right. 65. Who do we need to speak with tonight? 64. Who do we need to speak with tonight? 63. Saying yes to the invitation. 62. Sixty-one. 60. 59. 50. There you go. Following that. 57. Saying yes to the invitation. 56. 55. Friday, you know we need to speak with. 54. Allowing those aspects of Michelle that we do not need for this to simply dissolve into the dark. 53. 52. 51. Following the guidance to where we need to be, to where we need to be. 49. Passing through space and time, boundaries continue to dissolve. 48. 47. Another wave of relaxation in the moment. 46. Allowing any and all tension to be released, to loosen, to let go. 46. Allowing what we don't need to simply dissolve into the background temporarily. 45. Allowing something else to open. Another sound to pass through. 44. 43. Who do we need to speak with tonight? 42. What agreements have been made? 41. Is there an input? And why is there still? 48.
I feel your presence with the 18th.
Sensed a gray type being, just sort of like in the distance, sort of looking in on what's going on, but it's sort of my thing so far.
Can you see what happened when you were on the water bed?
I can sense that memory of experience, but I'm not doing anything else around it.
Taking a deep breath. In the privacy of your own mind there, I'd like you to imagine for yourself an elevator now. Seeing yourself call the elevator and seeing the doors open up before you. And just letting you know you can see that.
I can see that elevator.
Yeah. I'd like you to step into the elevator, making yourself comfortable, plenty of room. This elevator going down. I'd like you to hit the button for the floor that you need to arrive at. To ask some of the questions that we're here to ask today. Only you can know which floor that is. Taking all the time that you need and just letting us know when you're there.
I just feel like I'm not deep enough, guys. I need to be out. I'm not as present and conscious and aware of this experience.
Is something in the way? Yeah.
There's like an elevator and you get in and they count you down, and you get in another elevator and they count you down, you get in another elevator and they count you down, and another elevator, count you down, and then I'm not here. It's like, then whatever needs to come through can come through.
I see. So you need the elevator induction.
All right, I'm going to put you in some elevators.
So what I'd like you to do, that elevator you were just on, I'd like you to continue on that elevator. In the privacy of your own mind, again, appreciating what you're saying about not wanting to be here any longer, we would like that for you as well. And again, following your own inner guidance is absolutely the best way to get there. So if you know you need to take a certain succession of elevators to descend, please be doing that. I'll be counting down here, continuing from somewhere where I left off previously, let's say 40. Finding your elevators, going down, further and further. 39. Walking off one elevator and onto another. Each floor leaving behind a little bit more of Michelle's consciousness in this moment. You can allow to emerge whatever you would like to let us know when Michelle is no longer with us and something else is present. You may touch Alan or I, you may say a word, you can just let us know. In the privacy of your own mind, going down those elevators, removing those aspects of Michelle that we simply do not need at this moment. We may have them back compassionately and naturally later. For this moment, allowing them to be released in the background as we continue to go down. Deeper, 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 deeper. Breathe. 27th, feeling yourself moving down deeper and deeper. 38, far below the levels of conversation, conscious thought. 37, beneath those levels, understand these words. 36, beneath those levels, the language. 88, allowing something else to emerge. 35, 34, going deeper, going deeper. 33, 32, and deeper. Allowing the shell to dissolve into the bed. 31, 30, 29, 8, 20, as another movement for relaxation washes away into nothing. 29, another movement for relaxation washing away what we do. 27, allowing something else to emerge. 26, deeper. Who do you need to speak with today? 25, I'm waiting for relaxation. 24, 23, who do you need to speak with?
I'm feeling the presence of the beings that were in the backseat of my car, the Eagle experience, and I was in the car with them, and they're on both sides of me now, and I'm sitting in the middle of them, and they reached out for my hands, which I held their hands, and have asked me if I would like to go with them. I said yes. So, and then they showed me some beings that were hybrid children, I guess, is what they look like. They're part humanoid and
They took you out of the car?
yeah.
To where did they take you?
I'm just on board a ship. That's what it looks like. And they asked me if I wanted to come with them. I said yes, and then now I'm just on board this ship and being introduced to these hybrid children that are like grown now. They're like 4, 5, 8 years old children.
Resting with your senses now again, allowing human and non-human apparatus to blend and for boundaries to dissolve, allowing yourself to act as a channel and a translator, feeling free now for these beings to communicate with and through you, with Alan, to Alan, and from Alan through you to the beings. And I will be here with you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Are you holding these little hybrid children? What's your
I'm just standing in front of them, looking at them. They have this sincere, genuine interest in me and love. I feel love from them.
But they have a message for you too. Can you ask them what their message is for you?
I just hear thank you, that they're telling me thank you.
Can you ask them where are they living? Which dimension or planet are they now existing in?
I heard 8 dimension. So I heard.
Do you feel you're always connected to these hybrid children?
I get yes, I feel a yes.
Just trust what you get. And is there something that they want to tell you now? They're coming back into your consciousness now for a reason. Can you ask them why?
To have a more intimate communication and connection, for the establishment of communication with interspecies, communication between races, with humans, as an ambassador to convey and to know that we are friendly.
Look at those children. Can you describe what they look like?
It's elongated oval face, but humanoid. And the eyes are large. They look like what I would describe as the Asana beings.
How many are there?
There's 6 children, but then there's others around them that are caretakers.
Mm-hmm. And they are, if you can go to where they are now, can you sense where they are now in time? In this present time? How old they are now?
There are different ages that I'm seeing.
Okay.
It's like 14 was the number that came to me for one of the taller beings. And then there's one that's 8.
Can they give you a name that they call themselves? What comes, don't they?
I just heard E.
That's fine. And so, do you feel they want to merge more with you now?
Yes. That's what I feel.
Do you feel like there's an integration?
Yes.
Do they have a message for the planet, E and his friends, brothers, sisters?
I just hear we speak for many of us hybrid children, not just those of your DNA. That to be accepted there's great love for us as a human species and deep gratitude for the sharing of the DNA and the blending is helping them to expand in awareness as it is ourselves. And there's always a free exchange of energy through agreement. And I hear we don't mean or wish to harm them. And that they desire that fear around extraterrestrial presence be released from the collective level. That they love us immensely.
Is there a way that we can help here on Earth to add and include more peace in that collective message, that we be ready to receive them?
To know that there's downloads being given with many beings on the planet that have volunteered to share in their DNA, and that these downloads to trust them and allow it to flow with harmony, that in being able to express in this form and way we can integrate and have a coherence of energy between our species.
Can you give us a download now that they want us to use through your consciousness?
One of the caretakers is asking to be able to speak instead of the children.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Let me speak through you.
I feel like there's something to show me.
What?
This being is, taking me to another area in the ship. I'm seeing a panel of buttons. Being shown through a window of stars. There's
Stay with your senses.
I don't understand what it means. They're showing me Saturn. It looks like Saturn, or else it's a planet with rings.
For the meaning awareness be there.
You don't have to understand it. It's for everyone. So what are they showing you?
I see this just a planet, and there's like rings that are different colors, like the spectrum of a rainbow.
And what's the reason? Can you ask the caretaker why they're showing you that?
Now they're showing me Earth and something in relation to this other planet, some alignment, balancing. That's what I hear. Stabilization. And now I just feel there's love. This being is showing me love, and to hold me, his arms around me.
Do you feel loved?
Yeah, I feel immense love coming from this being.
Beautiful. Please thank the being on our behalf and do accept the love.
So he is one of the caretakers. Is it a male that is the caretaker?
It's both male and female is what I get. Feels like.
And can you ask where he's from? Which?
I'm hearing that it's a blending, and I hear Andromeda.
Are they somehow working with you and your body and your DNA at all?
And I feel a presence behind me, taking some readings or something.
Is there a reason they were sitting in the car that day? You remember that?
I feel they were children of mine that were making contact with me.
Taking a deep breath. Do you sense those particular beings nearby at this moment?
Yeah, I feel their presence now.
In the privacy of your own mind, resting with your senses there, exploring for a moment the possibility that your human experience in this incarnation is secondary to another one. Noticing how it feels as you engage with those beings that may be your children there. The love of that caretaker. And a sense of community and family that's possible outside of our human understanding. Noticing what emerges. Above all, accepting that love. What's happening now?
I sense that they are going to communicate with me more in my dream state. And I'm just seeing them, just happy to make connection.
Has what Dan said is if your human life is secondary to a greater existence. You get a sense of that?
I feel like a part of me is like, that's like another life, I guess, that's happening.
Can you tune into that? Anything? Do you want to just ask another question about their purpose now? What message the caretaker has for us now?
To know that we're loved and that and they fill us, our desire for greater contact. That's why they're here.
So for yourself now, Michelle, I'd like you to feel free to ask any questions about agreements, previous or future implants, previous visitations, or future communications. I'd like you to feel free to ask any questions and find any information now that you came here to retrieve tonight. Feeling free to share it with us, or keep it for yourself in the privacy of your own mind for now. Sharing with us anything else that the caretaker or anybody else there, any other beings, feel it's important that we know tonight. And other than that, taking the opportunity to find what it is that you're looking for, knowing that this conversation can remain an ongoing conversation that will continue for weeks, months, and years to come. I'm just nodding for me when this feels complete for now.
I'm being given this round, like a stone, that they're giving me.
Is it a tool? Is it a gift?
It's to have for contact whenever I desire to communicate with them. It's an interdimensional stone. It's just round. It's kind of opal, iridescent.
Will you be able to identify it when you see it in this reality? You feel it's coming that way?
I don't know whether it's going to be anything in the physical.
Okay. Is there anything else you need to know about these hybrid children and the caretaker?
Not at this time.
Were there any more goals that she had written down as far as?
Is it necessary that we revisit the memory of any of the stories that we were speaking about before to explore viewing them from the corners of those rooms again? Is that necessary today? We can do it if so. What's coming up?
Well, I'm feeling yes, and I felt the shift. It was kind of heavy, and then I just feel like I have to go deeper now.
To explore those memories?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what shift did you feel?
I just feel like a block of energy, like a room just sort of came in.
And where are you now?
It's to the waterbed incident.
Bringing your awareness into the corner of the room, feeling a deep breath in Michelle's body as everything we don't need recedes into the background, and just letting your awareness rest comfortably, observing waterbed. The body sleeping on the bed, and the other beings present, the light and shadows, the colors in the room. What's happening there?
I just see these beings looking down at me.
What is the feeling in the room?
And there's just this inquisitive feeling, like they're looking down at me and kind of puzzled.
Is there a reason that at that moment it's as if you were paralyzed? Is there a reason that there was that feeling of being held down? It was being left.
Not getting anything.
Continuing to rest there in your awareness, watching the scene play out from the corner of the room as my voice just plays in the background. Feeling free to allow any questions non-verbally to vibrate in the background, the purpose of this observation, the reasons for this visitation, what agreements, what began that night. Noticing what emerges in the privacy of your own mind there. Taking with you any new awareness, any new information. It doesn't need to make sense, just carrying it with us for now.
Can you go back to the time before they show? You remember them showing up? What happened previous? What comes?
Well, I see myself looking out the patio door window and feeling like a knowing that there's going to be a visitation tonight. That's all I'm sensing and seeing.
What's the purpose of the visitation?
Hearing that the being's curiosity came from curiosity.
What beings are these beings?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you noticed there? Any other awareness? Anything else we need to investigate tonight?
I feel like there's something there that just I'm not going deep enough under to allow it to come forward.
Okay. For another day then. Anything else in your awareness at this moment?
I'm not feeling anything.
Anything you want to take back into this normal waking state, a memory, a vision, a word, a message from your higher mind?
Getting just trust life, and that goes for all of you watching, including this vessel.
Okay.
Thanking any beings present there on our behalf for their participation tonight. We are curious too, and we here reciprocate their love and do thank them gratefully and look forward to future communications. And with that, with love and gratitude, allowing your mind to clear now, carrying with you any all-new awareness in the background comfortably as in the foreground. Gently begin returning your attention to the chair beneath you, the sound and tone of my voice, to the sounds in the office around us. In a few moments, I will begin to count up from 1 to 5, and when I reach 5, I'll ask you to open your eyes, and you'll be awake, alert, and ready for the rest of your evening. 1, another deep breath. 2, 3, 4, and 5, slowly opening your eyes whenever you're ready.
Hi.
Hello.
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 I have to say, when you regressed me the first time, it took me a while to get used to how memory or vision showed up.
Oh, yeah.
Because they didn't show up in the same way they do when I'm usually remembering. It was like on another platform.
Sure.
What was happening for you?
It was just like felt surreal, like I was there, and I was.
You were where?
When I had the experience of being on the ship with the beings, I mean, I felt like I was in that space, shared space with them. It was like it was actually happening again. And then when the other beings came in, and I felt the shift. I don't know, it was like a block of energy. I'm just sort of
I saw it in your body language. I bet you could see it on the video, actually.
I don't know, it just felt like a dimensional shift.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way I could describe it.
What do you think that was about?
Well, I think she literally changed states, and that can be as close to feeling like you're in a completely different place as you know, as we can get without actually doing it. So I saw you. You may have even turned from one side to the other as I said that, but I certainly watched your facial expression change. And I can't remember exactly the question I asked. There was something to the effect of, do we need to examine those other memories tonight? And your body language, it's as if you just went right into that kind of zone, you know? And it was before you said yes, but it was essentially this kind of like soft affirmation of, yes, we do need to examine certain things.
I get the feeling that I'm going to have to do maybe a series of sessions and
absolutely
come back out here. Because
and if I may comment on that, actually,
Yes.
Watching, Alan, your first or second session versus this session is kind of a beautiful contrast in the range of how people go in and out of trance, how we go in and out of trance. Alan, for instance, thus far in our sessions, you know, you're like that. You know, you're up and out of it, or you're back into it and everything else. And it's lovely. You know, you have this way of going in and out of trance. It seems very naturally. You also have a way of going in and out of trance very naturally, but as was stated, it's a certain amount of kind of, you know, things that need to be gone through to go to that quote unquote deep state. But I completely appreciate your telling me this, because essentially, again, like in a next session, I will employ everything that you have said. Well, no, this helps me get to that place where I'm deep enough. Michelle's nowhere here, and we can just allow whatever else needs to emerge to come through. So now that I know that, it empowers me to help you get there. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But also, just honestly, do the lights and the camera, that may...
Well, I feel like I need a couch, to be honest with you, for the next time. I
your
need
legs,
to
I
be able
imagine,
to
too,
really completely relax a little more.
Yeah.
But also, you're picking up the field of people watching, and so you're not completely in yourself. Did that impact you, or maybe it didn't? I don't know.
I mean, I felt the energy presence of being watched. But
not by the beings.
Yeah, by the viewers.
Whoever they are.
But I just was ignoring it and letting myself just, it's okay, I can just let go.
But that does impinge, I think. I think for me, when you did those sessions, I was aware that not performing, and I wanted to be honest, and I think you wanted to be honest and sincere. That's why you kept wanting to go deeper, because it takes, you know, a kind of getting out of the way to reach those places.
Right, and that's what I would like to have fun for the next session. So maybe we can arrange a couch.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's somewhere in the future here, we're going to have this whole thing nailed. You know, it's like, okay, couch, camera, mic, you know, so that the subject, honestly, your comfort is so important in this process. And right now you've got this ottoman up against your shins here and everything. You're right, you need a couch, you need to relax. We all need to be comfortable.
But maybe one without the camera and audience watching, so she can get to that state, so she can know what that state is. Like it took me 2 sessions to realize, oh, there's a level of accessing information that I actually didn't even know I had available to me, but wasn't like I said, it wasn't like remembering, but it wasn't like imagining either. It was like a realm being revealed to me that was also very present. Like you said, they're very present. So it's like another time in my experience. I don't know what it was for you, but it's an overlap of time, or it's like there's like a little bottle and there's another thing outside of it. So we're living in this time frame in the inner one, and then this other time frame.
That's a good way of describing it.
That is. That's an interesting model.
It just came to me.
That's
But so as we expand out, it's a different part of our brain, which I think is multidimensional. We're becoming aware. We have to get used to something. I
feel like as we raise our frequency, we have access to more information. We're feeling and sensing more of those experiences, of other simultaneous experiences.
Right, but for me, it's a different way of cognizing reality.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing that we can intellectualize it, but until you're like in the regression, you really don't know what it is until you have the experience.
Indeed. Yeah.
Right.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
And for the record, all the sessions we've done have been on camera.
Yes, I know.
So yeah, it would be useful, again, just in terms of everybody getting more comfortable, to have off-camera sessions at some point. But also, too, we could continue to do live. It's really whatever works best for everybody.
Or we could record it and just stream it later.
That
like,
too.
you know, not have it
That
be
too.
live at the moment.
Yes, of course.
Is going under similar to a dream or a memory or a re-experience?
Well, I'll just say, in hypnotherapy, generally, we're aiming for that liminal state between asleep and awake, because that is the spot where the brain learns. It's a kind of sweet spot for learning. It's not the only spot where brain learns, the brain. But in that space between asleep and awake, those parts of the brain that can decipher between real or imagined are somewhat shut off, so that visualizations of positive experience and positive psychology and positive learning, which is mostly what I'm doing in sessions for anxiety relief and stuff like that, will take place again in that space between asleep and awake. So yes, it is similar to dream states in that way, but it's also very different.
It is, but we don't have a vocabulary within our
Not a good one.
present culture to
agreed.
understand states of consciousness.
I agree. Yeah, the English language is not a great set of tools for even exploring the content we're talking about tonight. It's not.
It's the English language, I guess. In Hindu, they have more of a language, but I think it's
Sanskrit
also.
as well.
I don't think there's a culture for it. There's not a collective understanding. We have, like the Eskimos, that cliche has 50 words for snow.
Right.
We have one because they make further distinctions. We haven't made the distinctions in consciousness. So that's my feeling. I have another question here. So it's sort of a hypnagogic state, Omar asks.
I would go with that, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was waiting to hear more in-depth stories. Well, like I said, I think it takes time. People see hypnotic regressions and boom, that person's in, and it's very dramatic, but this is the hard work we're doing.
Yeah, I mentioned in one of the earlier sessions with you, Alan, and this is another important thing to contextualize. For the viewing audience, if you couldn't hear me at different times, I apologize, because I felt it necessary to become, just kind of closer to Michelle and whispering things to her. But oftentimes, hypnotherapy is not flashy or entertaining. The reality of it, especially in a one-on-one session, I use the word boring.
It's hard work. It's like we're digging through levels and levels.
Well, let me say this. All of the hypnotherapy demos I have attended at trainings and things like that, to actually view, as we are tonight, a session of hypnotherapy, you're going to watch one person quietly whispering to another for about 45 minutes. That's it. That's what hypnotherapy is. That's it. Now, those whispers might be highly intentionally chosen, and maybe have in them incredible technique, but it's still just whispering for 45 minutes. So unless you're engaged in it in a certain way that you want to know what's going on, or have a reason to be paying very close attention, the reality of the situation is what transpired here very often.
Well, it's also, like we were saying, digging through levels and levels of our own mind and resistance. Yes. There's a reason why we don't remember our abductions, and it's layered over. First you have to get beyond the personality, and then you have to get to where you're feeling and connecting, and you're using your brain in a different way. That's the only way I can describe the sessions that we've had. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like when you started to see the beings, what was different about that than like those levels you were going into?
There was just a feeling of this. I just felt love, overwhelming love from these beings. Really was the biggest takeaway, I guess.
Which is beautiful, which I would argue too might be more useful than any kind of like logistical information we might have about spaceships.
Right.
I'm being quite serious and
No, I
respectful.
think you're right.
That feeling of love, I personally, as a human being, regardless, perhaps the most important thing here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as we're talking about acceptance and communication and finding ways of opening, you know, our culture for accepting new discoveries.
Right. I just want to make more sense of all of it, because I realize, I feel like, you know, we as humans, what makes us so attractive is our feelings, and also we have, like, our DNA is like crystalline in structure, and we are like, I feel like we're clearing ourselves and clearing, you know, fear and as we raise our frequency, and so we're becoming more light-like, and we have a Merkaba, you know, a body of light, like when you see orbs, you know, James Gillian has a aura video, and but we don't need ships to really travel, but there's different beings that do.
Sorry, but you said two different things. You want to make more sense of it, and then you kind of talked in a language that has made sense in the past. I think we're at a phase where, if you could stay there, not make sense of it.
Right.
This is what, we don't have all the pieces. This thing doesn't make sense. We can call it light language, orbs, whatever, but we need a new frame, is what I'm getting from all the things that we witnessed last night, and is that we can't make sense of it at this. I mean, that's just my feeling. Maybe you can, but I would suggest not to make sense of it, and that will allow us to go further into constituting a new vocabulary somehow.
There's the language of light that we are, I guess, encoding maybe by remembering it or accessing it from those other parallel life streams.
Yeah, and I don't mean to just cast out what ifs now, but again, you're like, what if that feeling of love that was transmitted was their language?
That's an interesting point.
You know, that their emotional transmissions have in them such detail somehow that, you know, there's actual language and you know, finite information, not just a kind of blanket sensation of, oh, this thing loves me. Not that that's
well, I trust that this is new realities, and we make known the unknown, and so we have that intention, and as Bashar says, I know what I need to know when I need to know it. So I'm trusting and allowing, and I surrender to the process for it to, you know, unfold.
Well, one more question, and then we'll wrap it up, because Dan's been very patient.
I'm having fun, man.
Okay, this is your work, I guess, and you love your work.
And I love my work. I'm a lucky guy.
You are. That's amazing. You have so much patience to, I mean, it's just all a process. So you're learning every minute. I mean, you're gauging a new learning. But no, I wanted to ask you, when you were with those hybrid children, did you feel that same love, or what did you feel from them?
What I felt and sensed with them was this genuine, deep gratitude, immense gratitude that was coming from them, and this also desire to have a more intimate connection, like now.
You got a gratitude from this being.
Yeah.
I got caught up in that moment, because I was like, are these are children? Like, because it was like, I remember mentioning at one point, you know, like, let's try to imagine for a moment some kind of non-human formulation of community and family that's taking place here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any questions, other?
I see them all the time, the small ones. This is Omar again. Omar was watching the whole time. We're looking, Omar, some have no more life. I don't know. I'm just skipping to the end of the chat. Merkaba, ship, no ship, besides government. I don't know about that. I don't know. I guess if anyone has any more questions, you can, once this is posted, you can just write it in the comment section, and Michelle or Dan or me will answer. So before we go, just tell people, if they want Regression, how to get a hold of you.
Thank you. My website is danielryancrt.com. I'm the co-director at the Center for Integrative Hypnosis here in New York City. And you can reach me. My email is danielryancrt@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you and work with you. So please feel free to reach out.
And Michelle, where are you and how can people find you?
I'm Michelle Copeland / Loves Presence. That's LOVES.presence, PRESENCE on Facebook. Or you can also check out my YouTube channel, which is Nourish Your Soul TV. And I also want to invite you to tune in on Fridays. Alan and I are going to collaborate and do a live stream allowing a platform for people to come forward and share their experiences in the Bashar group of ET contact. Along also included in that will be Jay Figueroa and also Gregory Miller, which are also in the Bashar group as well. I'm sure you know them. So I invite you just to come forward to share any experiences that you may have, because in all of us, by doing that, that's what allows this disclosure.
And you're also aromatherapist, right?
Yes.
And you have your own line.
Yes. It's Living Well elixirs, and I have blends, and I also have just essential oils that I use and make available.
Right.
I'm also available for private consultations.
As an aromatherapist.
That and life coaching.
Okay, and thank you all. Thank you, Jay, for watching, and everyone else, Omar and Corey and
Gregory.
And my good friend, the occult priestess. I'm going to be in LA this coming weekend at the Conscious Living Expo, a great forum for this kind of stuff and ancient civilizations and higher consciousness. I'll be speaking there on Friday night with the Hertogs, JJ and Desiree Hertog, about what are we speaking about? We're speaking about ancient civilizations and the codes of ascension, whatever that means to you. And also look at my YouTube channel. I guess you're watching it now, but subscribe. Thank you. You could email me at newrealities@earthlink.net. All right,
and I want to add one more thing. Alan Steinfeld is doing an ET cruise that I'm going on.
Thank you.
And I want to invite you to come with us. And if you say that Michelle Copeland referred you, then that would be great. Come and join us, Alan Steinfeld.
Well, look up ufocruise.com, and it's in October. And email me if you want more information. Thanks. Okay,
thanks,
Dan,
everybody.
We're good?
We're good.
Thanks so much for your time and your time.
Wonderful to meet you.
Yeah,
my
very nice
time.
meeting you.
Okay. I am closing this stream.